Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Nice to see you all. You will notice a dearth of instrumentation tonight. A lot of people are picking up what's going around, and that has not let our clergy team escape it. So I trust all of you have brought your instruments, your voices with you tonight, and we will just remind ourselves. I'm always pleasantly surprised and to be reminded that really at the end of it all, what is most necessary for a community like ours, especially to fill a room with prayer and with spirit, really just takes us showing up. So for those of you who are here with us in the sanctuary tonight, thank you, or in the chapel tonight, thank you for being here, for bringing your voices, for elevating yourself, and of course, if you are not somebody so inclined to do that, of course, to just enjoy the joy and the beauty of Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom to those who are joining us by live stream. We're glad that you are also here with us tonight. We're going to start on page 24 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Boachem l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech Malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Barchuni l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzedchem l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech Malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. I know many of you are familiar where this particular song, this piyut, comes from, this opening song. It comes from a story in the Talmud, which says in Tractate Shabbat that two angels accompany each and every one of us when we make our way home from the synagogue on Friday. The rabbis just assumed everybody would be in synagogue on Friday. And they said that as you make your way home, there are two angels, one on each shoulder. One of them is the angel which embodies good intentions, and one of them is the angel which represents all of those inclinations to not fulfill the best of ourselves. For example, if you wake up the first morning that you tell yourself in the new year you're going to go to the gym, and you hit the snooze button, that angel of negative inclination has won. And the next morning, it becomes easier and then easier and easier to just hit the snooze button. Whereas if you say yes over and over again to that alarm and drag yourself to the gym, that it becomes easier and easier and the momentum for that builds. And so the rabbis in that story teach us that if you have left for yourself at home to return to, your table set for a sumptuous meal, and your bed ready for lying and sleeping comfortably in, that angel of good intention reminds us it's this easy to do it every week. And the angel of other inclination has to say, I'm with you, amen. And yet, if we do set ourselves up with all of those comforts and allow ourselves this space of Shabbat to return home afterwards and to enjoy all of those things that we have worked so hard towards all week, then that other angel of good intentions has to acquiesce and allow that other momentum to build. So I hope that all of you have had a wonderful week of successes, or perhaps learning from failures, of surrounding yourself with the best people that you could, or learning whatever lessons possible there are from those who you do not necessarily wish to always be around. And I hope that whatever it is that you're heading home to after this service brings you a lot of joy and a lot of comfort for this Shabbat so that you can fully embody this sacred time of rest and reflection. To start Shabbat officially, it's my pleasure to invite up Dr. Naomi Yavna Close. Where'd you go? Right there for our candle blessings and Kiddush. The blessings are found first on page 2 and then page 5. It's humid in here, I know. Oh. It's your zeal. There we go. Page 2. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat. And if you'll lift up the Kiddush cup for us, Kiddush is found on page, there it is. Kiddush is on page 5, please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila Lemikrai Kodesh, Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu Vacharta, Dotanu Kidashta, Mikol Hamim, V'Shabbat Kodshecha, Be'ahava uveratzon hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim. You can be seated. We offer a few songs to welcome in Shabbat, starting on page 12 with Lechu Neranena. After that first paragraph, we'll switch right over to page 13 with Shiru Ladonai. Lechu Neranena Ladonai, Naria Letzur Yishenu, Nikadma fanav betoda, bizmirot narialo. Shiru ladonai, shir chadash, shiru ladonai, kol haaretz. Shiru ladonai, barchu shemo, basru miyom liyom yeshuato, sapru vagoyim kevodo, bechol ha'amim niflotav. Ki gadol Adonai, hulal meod, Norahu. Al kol Elohim, Yaidai, 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 Yaidai. Lechado D, page 20. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. For verse 9, as many of you know, we'll stand where we are and face the entrance to welcome the Shabbat bride. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela, Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Ishmi'anu el ha'meuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem ul'tiferet v'lethilah. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki hi mekor ha-beracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshevat chila. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, Kiva orech kumiori, Uri shir daberi, Kivod Adonai alayich nigla. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 9. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi kala. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. You can be seated. For our kids' blessing tonight, I want to invite all of those of you who are not yet to your bar or bat mitzvah age. If you're not quite 13, Even if it's just a little bit away, even if this isn't typically your home synagogue, come on up. But for tonight, since you can hear, I'm also fighting a little cold, just a cold, I promise. I'm going to invite you to stand up here, and I can give you your blessing together. And fear not, Dr. Levy over here is going to make sure you get your Hershey kisses afterwards. So you want to come stand over here? Come on over. You want to stand here? You want to stand there? It'll be a different kind tonight. So I hope all of you had a wonderful week. And if you couldn't have a wonderful week, I hope you grew in some way this week. I hope that those of you who had great achievements, those of you who had great achievements, think about how you can have even more achievements on the back of that. For those of you who might have made some mistakes or maybe didn't mean to do something that you accidentally did, I hope you learned from that and grew from that too. The best part about Shabbat is that we, don't have to go to school, but also that you get to think about how to reset your whole brain and your whole spirit for next week when you get to do it all over again. So this is your blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichoneka. May the light of God shine on you and make your heart happy. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God give you the greatest blessing and gift of all, which is that of peace. Shabbat Shalom. And for those of you in this crowd up here who might have had a birthday this week, happy birthday. We'll continue on page 28 with Baruch Hu. Please rise. Thank you. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Page 30. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishanei itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil bein yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch alenu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me, lead us into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Yevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. You can be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam livanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha vaderech, uvshochbecha, uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizker v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem kedoshim lelohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem lelohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. In a world often torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say to you, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and your love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark times your vision of a world redeemed. So let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace, and then we shall rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar ba'kodesh Norah tehilot osei fele Norah tehilot osei fele Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar ba'kodesh. Malchutecha ra'uvanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'elianu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'ne'emar kifada Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 44. At the top of the page. I know, I just threw many of you for a loop. Our song, praising this day of Shabbat, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing it throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim vet haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. We pray as if everything depended on God, and yet we remind ourselves that our duty is to act in this world as if everything depended on us. Amidah is found on pages 46 and following. Please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tegilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, atah gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol, atah Rav lehoshia, mashiv haruach umorid hagashem, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofech olim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, micha mocha ba'al givurot, Umido melach, melech meimit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atal hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, Ukedoshim b'chol yom yalelu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. You can be seated. You are with us, O God, in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and to do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. And therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answers to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all of Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all of these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot. Take a few moments for our own tefillat halev, our own silent prayer. We'll come back together in just a moment at the bottom of page 62. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. I heard a lovely drosh, I guess you could call it, from a colleague of mine, Rabbi Bess Woolner in California, formerly in Memphis. I hope wherever they're headed to, everyone stays safe and gets the help that they need. I heard this lovely drosh from her the other day. She said, we always do that version she was saying, of Oseh Shalom, because coming out of silent prayer, most people tend to sing, even if they are okay singing out loud, they tend to sing pretty soft coming right out of it. And that melody itself lends us the ability, the chance to really build an intensity and volume and spirit with every sort of, almost every word, almost every letter. And she said, I love doing that because the blessing we always do, similar to here, right afterwards, is Mishaberach, which, of course, needs for itself a blessing of healing, a bit of softness to it. But what a time for us to bring the full force of our voices and our spirits to a blessing like that coming out of something silent. So on page 253, we offer this blessing for those who are in need of healing, of body, of mind, of spirit. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Sarah and Rebekah and Rachel and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. If you are thinking of anyone now and would like, I invite you now to whisper it out loud. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleihem, L'Hachalimam U'Lerapotam, L'Hachazikam, L'Yishlach Lahem Mehera Refuah, Refuah Shleimam Min Hashamayim, Refuah HaNefesh, Refuah Haguf, Hashta Ba'Gala U'Bizman Kariv V'Nomar. Amen. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and of spirit. And to that, let us all say, Amen. I have to let the folks doing dinner know that we're probably going to end a little bit earlier. That's to all of our benefit. Shabbat Shalom again to everybody. I want to thank you once again for helping fill this room with the instruments of our voices, right to every corner of this room. It's one of the beautiful things, one of the many beautiful things about this room is how quickly it can be filled with such a rich sound of voices and of prayer. Um, over the holiday break, the time that our office was closed, of course, I met with actually a couple of you in this room. We had coffee and we had meetings, but I also, like many of you probably, had a chance to watch my fair share of movies, catch up on some shows, and a friend of mine, who's sort of my go-to for music and movies, always has been, he likes to play this game. He introduced me to this game that we like to play. When we watch a movie, that you realize suddenly that that movie would not have happened at all if cell phones had been invented. Right? Die Hard. Home Alone. Not that you can call somebody from an airplane, but if the power goes out and your alarm stops working, here's your phone with the alarm going off, right? And on top of that, I want you to hold on to that for just a moment, because there's another game that I was playing, that I often play with, here's my Jewish nerd part, with Torah stories. But I want to ask you all first, how many of you have ever had an experience like this one I'm going to share? Someone you know, or maybe even you, mentions that they, or you, have recently met a new someone, a potentially special someone. You've taken a liking to them and maybe even been out a couple of times. And then when that someone's name is mentioned, suddenly everyone whips out their phones, Googles them, and finds out every piece of information out there about them. Anyone? Yeah. This modern era of ours lets us figure out and find out really sometimes pertinent and necessary bits of information, and sometimes bits of information that draw our attention really without even needing to. And undoubtedly, the ability to find out about somebody that you've met has a lot of advantages, a lot of benefits. They ensure people's safety, and they can actually save lives in some situations to be able to find out who it is, this person that I just met. But more often than not, in the situation I just described, it goes something like this, and I'm paraphrasing, of course. I like that profile picture. Oh, wow, they travel a lot. Oh, wow, they post a lot of political stuff. Oh, my God. Did you see who they voted for? Did you see where they stand on fill in the blank of whatever issue? And just like that, the potential for getting to know someone as they are can potentially be diminished. And the chance to size them up and label them with only the basic amount of information grows exponentially, which in so many cases is really nothing more than a shame. And I ask about this, similar to I asked about the game that we play with movies and cell phones, because I often like to play a game with Torah stories. What would happen in this story if it happened in our modern day? This week's Torah portion offers a really, really wonderful example of that. This week's Torah portion is Shemot. It's also the name of the new book that we are entering, the second book of the Torah. And it starts, not at the very beginning, but it says this towards the beginning. It says, Vayomer melech Mitzrayim la'am yaldo ta'ivriot, asher shem ha'achat Shifra, v'shem ha'shenit Pu'ah. After recounting the generations that have passed since Joseph and his brothers fully migrated their families down to the land of Egypt, and after the death of all of those original brothers and sisters and migrants, the people who descend from them have grown rapidly in numbers. And as the book of Exodus famously says, a new king arises over Egypt who did not know Joseph, and all that Joseph had done. And as the people in number grew, that Pharaoh, that king, became suspicious and then terrified that they might usurp the Egyptians living there in power, in strength, etc. And so we come to that line I just read. Vayomer melech Mitzrayim lam yaldo ta'ivriot asher shem ha'achat Shifra v'shem ha'shenit Pu'ah. The king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shifra, the other whose name was Puah, and said, Vayomer, Bayaledchen et ha'ivriot, uriten al ha'avnaim, im ben hu hamitain oto. When you deliver the Hebrew women who are pregnant, look at the birth stool. If it's a boy, kill it. If it's a girl, let it live. This is, like so many others can be viewed, an important linchpin moment of our Jewish history. It's literally a vital moment for our people. These two women help ensure that death and misery for the Israelites is held at bay, at least for the moment. But what's striking is that there is a lot of actual ambiguity of who these women really are. Because as you might have heard in the description that I just read, in the translation rather, they're described as Hebrew midwives. And that has led generations, thousands of years of rabbis, scholars, studiers of Torah to wonder, what does that phrase really mean? Were they Hebrew women who served their own community as midwives? Or were they Egyptian women who served the Hebrew community as midwives? Assigned to that community as midwives. Personally, I tend to think of it as the latter, that they were Egyptians who rose up in the face of some terrible directives and decided to do what was human, not what was deemed at that moment Egyptian. After all, what's my proof? The king of Egypt, the Pharaoh himself, speaks to them, not sends an emissary. And to me, that indicates that they must have been in some sort of official position, some sort of inner court where the king, the Pharaoh, would speak directly to them. That said, pretty much every commentator in all of human history, Rashi, Rambam, the rabbis of the Midrash and Talmud, disagree with me, and I accept it. They're allowed to be wrong. But that game I play, I can't help but think, what if this story happened today? What if somebody was told those two midwives, Shifra and Puah, heard this directive from the king and went back to the community that they served? What if we rushed to Google their names and to see every single bit of history, relevant but mostly irrelevant, about them, and then judge their character without thinking about what their actions actually were? Because their actions in this week's Torah portion are what's really important, not are they Egyptian or Hebrew. The next line of Torah says, Vatirena hamyaldot et ha'elohim velo asu ka'asher diber alehen melech Mitzrayim. But the midwives, fearing God, did not do as the king of Egypt had told them. They let the boys live. And it's that piece of the story that makes me glad that they are ambiguous, that we don't really know everything about them. Because what if, in that Google search of Shifra and Puah, the answer to who are these women led us to dislike the answer so much that we judge them as good or bad in that moment alone, or worthy or unworthy because of what group they came from, or friend or foe because of who they worked for, and instead disallowed us to focus on the complexity of who they are as people, what their values, their ethics are, how they stand up for their beliefs, how they embody their own ethics, how they show kindness and compassion, not simply what we get by their name search. That would be, as my grandmother and probably plenty of yours would say, a shanda, a disgrace, a real shame. And so, as we continue with this cycle of Torah this year, as the book of Exodus commences, I pray that this lesson, this tiny little lesson, this little inkling that we get from just a few lines of Torah, is a reminder that stays with me and with all of us as we continue forward in our own lives. I hope that this reminds us to embody that maxim of the rabbis of Pirkei Avot, to find ourselves teachers, to get ourselves friends and study mates, but most importantly, to judge every person that we encounter based on their merits. Ken Yehi Ratzon. That should be God's will. Shabbat Shalom. We will begin our concluding prayers with Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 282. Please rise. Aleinu L'Shabeach Ladon Hakol Latet Gedula Liotzer Bereshit Shelo Asanu Kegoye Ha'aratzot Velo Samanu Kemishpechot Ha'adama Shelo Sam Chelkenu Kahem Vigor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam Vanachnu Korim Umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, ushemo echad. We think of our loved ones at this time whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our own hearts. May their memories be for a blessing. As I read these names, if you're not familiar, our custom here at Touro Synagogue is to invite anybody who wishes, when you hear a name with whom you're linked in family, in friendship, in love of any kind, when you hear their name, if you wish, to please rise where you are so we can take a moment to recognize you and your mourning before we all rise together and recite the blessing. As a community, Touro Synagogue mourns the recent death of Dr. David Charles Bowman. This period of Shloshim for Ned Goldberg, Barbara Panitz Leeds, and Audrey Zimmerman. And this Shabbat, we recall the names of those who died at this time in years past. Miriam Kohlmeyer Bear, Dr. Isidore Cohn, Ann Miller Fabricant, Jacobo Jose Figman, Dr. Simon Geismar, Saul Germain, Adolph Good, Alexander Gottsegan, Leon Heyman, Nettie S. Hochstein, Dora Moss Jacobs, Julius Jacobs, Darren Knox, Rosa Lehman, Faye Sharf Levy, Marks Mayer Levy, Pauline Moss, Patrick McNamara, Fanny Marcus Molaski, Willie Mintz, Arthur G. Radlauer, Danny Ross, Julius L. Rosenblum, Helen Allenberg Rubenstein, Morris Rubenstein, Alice Kahn Schoen, Morris Schwartz, Madeline Smith, Gussie Stiebel, Bertolt Turkheimer, Leo Van Oss, Edgar Weil, and Herbert Schwartz Weil. If there are any other names that you would like to recite out loud or simply hold in your mind, and your heart, as I come around, please feel free to do so. Zichronam livracha, may their lives and their memories always be a blessing. Page 294, we rise as a community and recite together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'b'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach la'alam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudusha b'rechu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all of Israel, to which we say, Amen. You can be seated. It's my pleasure to invite up for some Shabbat announcements, to share the Bima, as always, Dr. Laura Levy, our congregational president.
Welcome, Shabbat Shalom. We're grateful tonight to Sarah Gershon, Kathy Lazarus, and Kevin Wilkins, who greeted us as we came in the door tonight. Thank you. Thank you to Naomi Yavna for leading us in candle blessing and Kiddush. The lovely pulpit flowers tonight were given in memory of Anne Miller Fabricant by Kathy, Hal, David, and Rachel Shepard. Thank you. Shabbat morning at Touro Synagogue begins tomorrow at 9 a.m. with Torah study. Thank you to Jeffrey Luria for leading the discussion this week. It's followed at 10:30 here in the chapel by the Brinah service. We got a bunch of volunteers for Shabbat morning this week at Brinah: Chris Lorenzen, Michelle Potash, Morty Potash, Bill Procell, Jessica Arnold, Zev Arnold, and Sarah Gershon. Thank you. And all are welcome tomorrow morning to stay for lunch following Brinah. As many of you know, Touro is planning a solidarity and learning mission to Israel next month at the end of February. The trip will be short and packed with rich experiences intended to cultivate understanding, to bear witness, to give the opportunity to pay the Shiva call that so many of us seek to pay. So we invite you to learn more, and if you're interested, fill out the interest form that can be found at the link in your congregational emails. We're honored to invite the congregation to register for a security training that's been arranged by our security subcommittee chair, Megan Yellen. Thank you, Megan. It is to be presented in a webinar by an organization called Community Security Service. The training is called Entry Point. It will provide virtual training, this webinar, about the basics of security and how one might volunteer to help protect our community in this difficult time and always. So if you are interested in this, all are invited to register for this webinar. It will be held Monday evening, January the 8th, this Monday at 7:30. You need to register for it using the link that's in your congregational email. And once you register, you will receive a link to sign up to the webinar. If you have questions, Megan is sitting in the back and can help you. All of our committees are really working hard right now on programming, benefiting from the responses that so many of you provided in the congregational survey that we did last spring. So let me tell you a few of the things going on so you can start to think about what attracts your attention. The Lifelong Learning Committee, led by Naomi Yavna, is convening an all-hands meeting, anybody who's interested, on Thursday, January 11th by Zoom at 12:30 p.m. And the purpose is to discuss the plans, the ongoing activities, and the progress of this committee. If this is lifelong learning, an interest of yours, please reach out to Naomi and she will guide you in how to sign up and get a link. Membership engagement, led by Julie Kopman. Julie, as many of you know, is developing this year an ambassador program, a really wonderful project, an ambassador program that will serve many different constituencies in our congregation. Certainly new members, but not only new members. If this is interesting to you, please reach out directly to Julie and let her know so she can add you to the list. Erica Zucker and Chris Lorenzen are chairing Tikkun Olam. They have so much going on. Will launch a major new initiative this month. You'll be hearing about it soon if you expressed an interest in this in the congregational survey. That has to do with the development of a climate action plan. Really important new initiative that will take the rest of the year, likely. That message will go out to people who indicated interest in the congregational survey, but is not exclusive to them. If this is meaningful to you, you're more than welcome, invited to participate. And please reach out to Erica Zucker or Chris Lorenzen to find out how. They're working on a lot of other initiatives. Just to give you a heads up, work on reproductive rights is ongoing, as is voter registration, fighting hunger, and some new initiatives on fighting anti-Semitism. So please reach out to Erica or Chris to express your interest in any of that. We will be gathering, as always, in the Grant Meyer Garden Pavilion for dinner. All are warmly invited. Shabbat Shalom.
We will close tonight. Thank you again for everybody being my partners in this tonight. And as always, it's an honor to be here and to lead such a gorgeous congregation in a really revitalizing moment at the end of a long week, especially with the rain and the cold. Please be careful when you make your ways back to your car with the rain and everything tonight. We'll close tonight with Adon Olam on page 321. Please rise. Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yitzir nivra lehet nasa vechepso kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora vehu haya vehu hoveh vehu yiyeh betifara vehu yiyeh betifara vehu echad bein sheni leham shilo lehachbira beli reishit beli tachlit velo haoz vehamisra velo haoz vehamisra vehu eli vechai goali v'tzur chevli beitzara vehu nisi umanosli menat kosi beyom ekra menat kosi beyom ekra beyado afkid ruchi be'etishan be'aira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li ve'olira Adonai li ve'olira. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
that was enough of us.